Is it red alert time for the Steelers' run defense? We had time to look at the All-22. We take a look closer at what went wrong in the Steelers' win over the Jets, where the Jets were able to run the ball. That and our Stars and Skulls grades here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Steelers, your daily Pittsburgh Steelers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter, bringing you your daily dose of all things on the Pittsburgh Steelers. As always, you can find the show on your favorite podcasting apps and on YouTube. Like this video if you enjoyed. Subscribe to this YouTube channel to get all of your daily Monday through Friday episodes, as well as our bonus content. But thank you for making us your first listen every day, because we're your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 back in bonus bets to use across the app. More on them later. Ladies and gentlemen, we are joined, as always, on Tuesdays by Alan Saunders. You can see him now at SteelersNow.com, always doing his great stuff over there. Alan, it's great to have you back, man. You were in New York. You got to see it live. I watched from TV at home, but we both concluded when we got into the locker room yesterday to talk to Steelers after the game, boy, run defense, especially the run interior defensive line, was rough to see. And we'll get more into this when we do Stars and Skulls grades about specific culprits, and we'll say some of them in this segment. But to me, the big thing the Steelers were supposed to fix over this offseason was the interior defensive line, and that was the group that killed them the most in this game.
Yeah, of course, their big fix wasn't there. Derek Harmon, that's all they did to fix it, right? I mean, they drafted Y.A. Black, and he was out there too, but I mean, I think that's part of the problem. I also think there's some schematic stuff that bled over from that playoff game against the Baltimore Ravens that we saw the Jets take advantage of, that I think it took far too long for the Steelers to make adjustments to, and that's concerning. I mean, if you're game planning for the Pittsburgh Steelers, who just gave up 300 yards in their last game, I understand it's a new year, new team. And I'm not saying Justin Fields and Breece Hall are as good as Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. But, if you squint a lot, they at least can fill the same roles, right? They can do maybe not the same level, but can do some of the same things. Why wouldn't you expect the Jets to come out and just do everything the Ravens did in that playoff game until the Steelers proved they could stop it? And it took way too long for that to happen. And to me, it's certainly guys did not have good games, but it was more about the collective, people not playing together, and the lack of schematical answers for the Steelers that really sunk them.
Yeah, I really thought that was a big thing. I mean, you were there all last week. I asked Mike Tomlin, Tara Loston, Keeanu Benton. I asked several people about, wait, what's the answer for this? Because the Ravens torched you with this, and we know that the Jets are going to use it. When you got Justin Fields and Breece Hall, why wouldn't you use it? And they used the QB option, and it seemed like a big problem. And I agree, schematic issues are there as well. But I think sometimes you expect for guys to be able to win their one-on-ones or at least take on double teams better, and that to be part of the solution. Because certainly, as Peyton Wilson talked about it in the locker room on Monday, he talked about, hey, sometimes guys, and I think he was including himself in this, were flying out of their gaps to try to help other people. There was one run where I believe Breece Hall ran for 17 yards, where Peyton Wilson jumped into Keeanu Benton's gap, because Keeanu Benton was one of the main culprits that kept getting whipped on Sunday. And in doing so, he occupied the gap that Patrick Queen was helping out. And in doing so, he exposed the cutback lane. And Breece Hall just had all the space in the world to cut back, get a big gain. And it was just like, what the heck's going on here? And that's something that I think that you saw more and more throughout the game, was when players saw, oh, this guy's in trouble, I'm going to go help. No, you got to keep to your responsibility as well. You got to trust your guys are going to win. And there wasn't enough of that going on. I do think that was part of the problem. You need to find other ways to mitigate those weaknesses, especially when you see it is a problem, and it certainly was a problem early and often for the Steelers. I mean, literally the first play of the game, and then all throughout the game, it was an issue for the Steelers.
Yeah, and it's some of the same stuff we saw last year. I also think the Steelers were just relatively unlucky in this game. When you go back and watch the tape, and I'm not saying TJ Watt had a bad game, but there's 5 plays maybe that he missed by about a combined like 5 feet, where like he got one hand on somebody and just couldn't. And it's like, man, TJ Watt usually makes those. There were 2. I mean, Justin Fields didn't throw that often, but some of his throws were like just begging to be interceptions that then just that not only did not get intercepted, were big gains. Like, and I just think like some of that was, you just chalked some of that up to the football gods, I think. And so that's what really, I mean, and I think that's why it took, one of the reasons it did take the Steelers so long, as like they kind of made some schematical adjustments at halftime, but then you didn't really see it because, one, like the Jets just kind of fluked into a couple plays, and then also you lose to Deshaun Elliott.
Yeah.
In the second half, you lose Joey Porter Jr., although I didn't think he was great in this game before he was injured, but now you're scrambling around and you got guys in places you're not expecting them to be, doing stuff you haven't really repped all this week. And then finally at the end of the game, they got one good drive. Now the last drive of the game is almost like a whole separate category, because that was the one time they got the Jets one-dimensional, and they ate them alive. And I think that's really encouraging, because that's the whole idea of what this defense is built around. But that drive before that was they had one good drive against the run, and they got that stop, and they won the game because of it. But so at least they did eventually get to the solutions. But man, frustrating that it took as long as it did.
No, I agree. There's legit frustrations there, and it's concerns right now. I noted this that after the game in our post-game show, I do think the Steelers get a bit of a reprieve from the whole dual running threat quarterback running back combo. You got Sam Darnold next week with the Seahawks, Drake May with the Patriots, JJ McCarthy with the Vikings, Joe Flacco with the Bengals, and even Joe Burrow, not with someone that the Bengals want running all that much on design plays. But then eventually you are going to come up against guys. I mean, we're seeing in Monday Night Football, Caleb Williams can use his legs to make plays. In back-to-back weeks, you're going to have Caleb Williams, Josh Allen, and Lamar Jackson. And by the way, you'll see Lamar Jackson again later in the season, unless the Ravens sit him because it's week 18. But you're going to get this test again, and teams are going to use this again. And some of these other teams might also just use it on occasion, just because if they feel like, hey, JJ McCarthy's young, we're going to use his legs in this situation to at least force the Steelers to honor something. There needs to be an answer here, and it can't just, I don't think it should be just, oh, well, Derek Harmon's back, and that's just it. I think they need concrete, legit, like, hey, we're going to do something different here to answer this problem, because this was a problem last year, and it's still a problem this year.
And the really, really weird thing about that is, specifically with the quarterback mobility aspect of it, the Steelers have been really good against that. Yeah. They were really good in the first game against Lamar Jackson last year. They dominated Jalen Daniels. Like, they can. We've seen them do it. I don't understand what has gone wrong with their game plan there that has changed. I mean, maybe it was the addition of Derrick Henry and them feeling like they could not spend so much attention on Lamar Jackson with the Ravens, and then they just kind of changed their blueprint. But we've seen them do it. And so I think the fact that, one, we've seen them do it. Two, they did eventually figure things out against the Jets, even if it took 55 minutes to do so. And the fact that this is a fairly unique problem that you're not going to see every week. I would not be pulling my hair out, and I don't have any to spare, so I'm not ever pulling my hair out. But I would not be pulling my hair out about this run defense from the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. I would be a little concerned about what you saw, but I don't think that's a problem that is going to be applicable very often going forward. There's three-quarters of a season until you see those teams you mentioned, a whole lot of trials and tribulations before you get there. You figure out how to stop Kenneth Walker, but that's a whole different plan.
I agree, and I'm on the same boat with you. I don't think this is like a red alert. I don't think this is a DEFCON 1. I do think this is hey, that's a small fire over there. You need to put that out before it becomes a forest fire. And if you don't, it'll burn your whole season down, and it'll be 2 years in a row that's been part of the demise of your season, and that will be on Mike Tomlin and Terrell Austin if that happens. Early game, season one, game one things, those things happen. Like, we've seen time and time again when the Steelers might get beat one way and then they counter it later in the season. It happens to even the Super Bowl teams, not just of the 2000s, but of the 70s. So, like, it's football. Those things happen. But this is the sign that they need to be working on a fix for later in this season. And, if it comes through, it will be a part of the story. But if it doesn't, that'll also be a part of the story in the other way. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, it's Stars and Skulls. Our grading segment is back here in the Locked On Steelers podcast. We'll get my thoughts, my grades, and Alan's reactions to them next here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Chris Carter, Alan Saunders, stick with us. We'll be right back. But first, we'll remind you this show is brought to you by Supply House. When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow with over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. Need parts fast for a project? Supply House has next-day delivery, which can be a true game changer when you're up against the clock to get things done. The Part Finder tools and 3D schematics can save you hours on jobs where every detail matters. Their Trademaster perks like priority shipping and dedicated support make the whole process even smoother. Join the free Trademaster program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and dedicated support lines. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for a free chance and use promo code SHCollege5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. We're also brought to you by Game Time. The NFL season is back, and honestly, there's nothing better than being in the stadium surrounded by fans cheering on your team. And let's be honest, getting tickets can be a hassle between queues, login screens, prices jumping at checkout. It's frustrating, and that's why I use Game Time, the app that gives you the advantage back to the fans. And Game Time is fast, easy, and backed by the Game Time guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. I pulled up the Game Time, and just a couple of taps, I saw amazing deals. I'm talking about your favorite NFL games for as low as $100 tickets. Steelers fans, season openers this Sunday, I'll be there. Will you? If you don't got tickets yet, go to Game Time today. I love the zone deals. You pick the section, Game Time picks the seats, and you save big. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms and conditions apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. We're back here in the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter, here with Alan Saunders back here on the show. It looks like we are literally recording this during the end of Monday Night Football, and the Bears look like they're in the middle of a Baltimore Ravens-esque collapse. But we're going to flip now to our Stars and Skulls segments here. Now, as always, we have our Stars and Skulls segment here where we give you the grades. Stars are good, skulls are bad. If you're new to the show and you're like, what's this? It's just a different way of grading other than saying A, B, or C. So we do each game, players get individual grades. If you get 1 star, you had a good player or a good day. 2 stars, you had a great player, a good day. And then if you get 3 stars, elite performance, that's like, this guy should be on like Pro Bowl and All Pro watch lists. In the reverse, 1 skull means you had a bad play without redeeming yourself, or a mildly bad game. 2 skulls means you overall just had a bad game. 3 skulls, you had an all-time terrible game. And then of course there is the dreaded bus ticket, which Alan Saunders kind of came up with on this show. Give him full credit for that, for Marcus Allen needing to get up out of here. But the bus ticket is very rare when someone is so bad and there's other factors being tied in outside of this, just the feel where it's like, buddy, you got to go. And so just to be clear, there are no bus tickets this week. It's very rare to get a bus ticket.
Tough to get a week 1 bus ticket.
Yeah,
almost impossible. Almost
impossible.
Everybody gets a reprieve from no matter what you did, at least for 1 week.
Right. Like there's bus tickets are like the ultimate like nth degree of evil. So like we're not going there. That's not. I know there's some people that wanted that for certain players. We'll get to those in a bit. But let's get into the grades. And by the way, thanks to my full-time job now being at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. You can read these grades if you want to read through them at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Stars and Skulls grades should be up by the time that you're listening to or watching this Tuesday morning. Check that out in the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Thank you for them for picking up my idea and let me post it there for people to read. But let's get to our grades. As always, we start with the best when they win, and that's the Stars. Let's go for the 1 stars to start here. I got several 1-star grades. I'm not going to ask Alan to guess because it's way too many. I got the interior offensive line, Mason McCormick, Zach Frazier, Isaac Seumalo. Granted, they didn't get a good run game going, but they were the group that mostly didn't allow pressure to Aaron Rodgers. I thought that was a plus. Jalen Warren had his touchdown and a couple tough runs. Kenneth Gainwell with the forced fumble. I think he deserves credit for that. Colas Waitman, solid punting on the day. Did have a 50-yard punt that put them inside the 20. DK Metcalf, not a great day, but led the team in receiving, had that ridiculous circus juggle catch and some really good yak. He gets a point there. Pat Freiermuth, 3 catches, 28 yards. That's not exciting, but he had really good blocking on the Johnny Smith touchdown. He gets a point for that. Cam Hayward, I know some people really think that Cam Hayward was terrible along with the D-line, but I thought he really contributed on some key plays, especially that tackle that he had. I believe it was on 2nd down on the penultimate drive where they did force that punt. Johnny Smith had his touchdown and a key 3rd down conversion. TJ Watt, 2 tackles for loss. Not a dominant game, but a solid game from him. Brandon Echols filling in well at cornerback. He had a stop that would have meant more if the Steelers got that 4th down stop on Justin Fields, but still I gave him credit for that effort in filling in a pinch for Joey Porter Jr. Juan Thornhill and Chuck Clark also getting points here. I thought they filled in nicely at safety. Thornhill also gets a point for recovering the Caleb Johnson fumble on the kickoff. Chuck Clark getting that tackle for loss on Justin Fields on the 3rd down that forced a punt towards the end of the game. And then Y.A. Black, simply because when he was on the field, I didn't think he got moved too much, and I saw some impressive plays from him. Nothing really standing out, but enough to say, hey, he gets a star here. I got a lot of 1 stars, Alan. Am I tripping on any of them?
I might have given DK Metcalf 2. I think he had 2 explosive plays.
He did. He did have explosive plays.
I didn't see he had the drop. So I guess
the drop was why I didn't give him 2.
I guess you could go that way. I thought Cam Hayward was probably their best defensive lineman. That wasn't saying a whole lot in this game.
Yeah.
That was a big stop on 2nd down. Brandon Echols had to tackle that drive too. That was 1st down. He had a really nice tackle as well. I thought he played well. TJ, it's funny because I totally agree with the 1-star grade, but also that's a bad game for TJ Watt according to his normal standards.
Right.
And that's insane to say, but it's true, right? So I guess we should mention it. That's kind of disappointing that this is where he's at. But I like I said earlier, I thought he was really close to a number of plays. And also, if you saw the run chart, it was pretty clear that the Jets had it in mind to try to limit his impact as much as they could.
Over here, and all the run chart was going that way. But yeah,
that was pretty blatant. So
yeah,
you can only do what you're given.
I agree with you there. I got 4 2-star players here to name for Alan Saunders. I'll give you. I want you to guess at least 2 of them.
Do we have a 3-star, or are we just dealing with 2s?
We have 2 3-star players this week.
Okay, all right, we got a bunch here. 2-star players. I will go with Calvin Austin.
Correct.
Ben Skoranek.
Correct.
How many more do we get?
We got 2 more 2-stars. You've already gotten your 2 that I put you on a quota for, but you can go 4 for 4 if you want.
We're gonna keep going if we can. Man, defense is rough. Patrick Queen?
No Patrick Queen on the list.
Queen. Okay. All right, I'm running out of steam here. Let me.
All right, that's fine. You got your 2, so
right.
No points lost. Our 2-star players are Calvin Austin and Ben Skoranek. They were literally the first 2 listed. But I also put Jalen Ramsey and Alex Highsmith as 2-star players. Jalen Ramsey literally played all over the field, everywhere except left cornerback. I think he was right outside cornerback, slot cornerback. He was each linebacker position. He basically lined up at some point based off his alignment. He played free safety, and 3 times he was targeted in this game. One was the 3rd down stop that forced the punt, I believe, the first punt that the Steelers forced in the game. Another was that comeback pattern on second down on the last drive of the game where he broke up a pass. Looked like he almost was about to intercept it and take it back for a touchdown. And then the last one, of course, was the just boomstick that he laid on Garrett Wilson to end the game, an emphatic play on his part. But the fact that it looked like wherever he lined up at, Justin Fields was like, I am not going there. I am not going there unless I absolutely have to. And in the end, it did end up costing the Jets. I gave him a 2-star there. Alex Highsmith, his 2-star, this man had 8 pressures, a sack, led the team with 8 tackles, tied with Patrick Queen. And then on top of that, particularly Allen, his last pressure, I didn't realize how important it was. It was on the play, the second down play of the last drive of the game. Jets are trying to get in field goal range. And we all remember that play, Ramsey breaking on the comeback route and knocking the ball down. What I did not see on TV until I looked at the All-22 was at the start of this play, Mason Taylor for the Jets breaks wide open down the seam, and Justin Fields is looking right at him. And if it wasn't for Alex Highsmith's twist right into the passing lane, Fields would have been able to just throw a clean pass, would have gone for 10, 15 yards, would have been a first down, and maybe they're on the fringe of field goal range at that point. Alex Highsmith's pressure there, his sack, his other work, I thought it deserved a 2-star effort there. What say you about my 2-star grades?
I think I'd have given Ramsey 3. I thought he was the best player on the team. He was, every time the ball was thrown to him, I think he touched it. I don't think there was ever a completion to him where he didn't at least get his hands on the ball. I thought so. I would have gone even higher with him. I think Alex Highsmith, really good pass rush, very productive in terms of pressures. Did get the 1 sack, made a couple nice plays in the backfield. I just thought the edge was a little soft over there too often on his side. Now, like we said, they were really running over there a lot. But I would have liked to see a little bit more in the run defensive area for him, given how many opportunities he got, how often they were running at him. He finished with 6 tackles.
8.
I mean, I think they probably was 15 or 20 runs over there, and so I would have liked to see him a little bit better in the run game. I probably would have gone 1-star with Highsmith, but I do agree that his pressures were especially impactful. Ramsey was great. And then Skoranek was, for the first 3 quarters of the game, might have been the best player. He was all over the place.
Yeah, he was.
A really funny thing is he scores the touchdown. They go to the same play later, and you can see the defense like, oh, we got to get Skoranek. And then Calvin Austin's open. It's like, that's the first time ever that Ben Skoranek has been
the decoy.
As a decoy, right?
That's pretty wild.
And then Austin, man, that's about as good as I've ever seen him. I thought it was great.
That toe tap and catch on the sideline, jumping up and going and getting that.
Oh man,
that was wide receiver. It
would not be physically possible for a guy his size to do that.
He got that dog in him. I will say the only reason, and I may revise this in post, the only reason I didn't give Jalen Ramsey a 3-star because he didn't have the pick or the sack. He did have the big hit, but then on the first touchdown, and I don't know this for sure because I asked Juan Thornhill about it, but he wasn't on the play for it, so he couldn't confirm either way. But on the first touchdown, when they run the deep crossers, and you see Garrett Wilson with Darius Slay, Jalen Ramsey was the free safety, and he went with Reynolds and Porter. And I was kind of like, why wouldn't you go with the number 1 guy there? Now, that might have been the design of the play. And if it is, it's a dumb design. But I was like, kind of here, there. So I gave him 2 stars on the day because
unless they put a special rule in, usually he's supposed to just be with the deeper guy without paying attention to which one is which. And so I don't know, kind of impossible to know if they did or they didn't unless somebody tells you. But I thought that was a good play design. And obviously Slay's, could be better. But right. I really liked Ramsey's game.
2 3-star players. Who are they?
Boz and Aaron Rodgers.
Bang! My man gets it without even need to think about it. That's absolutely who it is. Aaron Rodgers. What truly amazes me when I continue to look at this game for him in the 3-star performance, Alan, is that Aaron Rodgers in this game didn't have an overly dominant receiver. I mean, Calvin Austin was like really good. DK Metcalf made some really nice plays, but there wasn't an Antonio Brown like, oh my God, he just took the ball off that dude's head and scored a touchdown through 3 people. There was none of that. He didn't have great protection. He got sacked 4 times this game, nor did he have a run game. And despite that, was an efficient quarterback. That's why he gets 3 stars in my book. And I mean, I don't need to say much about Chris Boswell. I can never analyze kicking other than, man, that guy's really good. And man, Chris Boswell is really good.
He's a serial killer, according to Mike Tomlin.
I
think that's the first time that's ever been used as a pure compliment.
For a kicker.
Yeah, for a kicker. Yeah. Man, I talked to him after the game. I tried to get him to open up a little bit. You know, Boz notoriously doesn't talk to us a lot and isn't really very long-winded when he does. The thing that I am mystified by is Chris Boswell is 34?
Yep.
He's the second longest tenured Steelers player behind Cam Hayward.
Mm-hmm.
He's better now than he has been at any point in his career.
Agreed.
Like, that kick for 60 was good from 70.
70. I mean, he nailed that. Like it might have been like the Cam Little field goal.
When was where
did that come from? He was an accurate guy. He was never the deep guy. Yeah.
He keeps getting better. That's the thing that is so crazy about Chris Boswell.
I agree. He keeps getting better. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we do got to talk about the Skulls because there were some bad parts of this game. We'll talk about that next year on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Bruce Carter, Alan Saunders. Stick with us. We'll be right back. But first, I want to remind you this show is also brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the #1 sportsbook in America. The NFL season is almost here, and FanDuel is making sure that you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 back in bonus bets to use across the app. I love the FanDuel app because it fits however you like to bet. Player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. It makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. It's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little more energy to Sunday. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet and get your chance to win $300 bonus bets only on FanDuel. We're back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Chris Carter, Alan Saunders. We continue our show here in this one. Alan, let's talk about the Skulls. As always, there's 1 to 3 Skulls. There's certainly a lot of guys in the trenches. I'll start with my 1 Skull guys. I got Troy Fautanu, Connor Hayward, Patrick Queen, Jack Sawyer, Dana Quale. Not too hard on Troy Fautanu. He did give up some pressures. I thought he battled back for most of the game, but in overall could have been a little bit better. So I'm not gonna. So I gave him 1 Skull. Wasn't too hard on him. Connor Hayward. I mean, just a boneheaded play on the special teams penalty. It eliminated really good field position for the Steelers. They would have been on the 38, on their own 38, and it pushed them back in, so it's basically just outside their own 20. And that helped the Jets because the next drive after the Steelers punted, the Jets were in better field position and they got a touchdown out of it. So not a bus ticket thing, but if he does stuff like that throughout the year, then we'll get in that category. Patrick Queen, I just thought that he could have been a little bit better in the run defense. You talked about some of those passes that were just beyond fingertips. There was twice that I thought Patrick Queen was less than an inch away from breaking up a pass. So I'm not going to get too hard on him. Same thing for Sawyer and Aquale, whereas I didn't think I think they both needed to be better against the run. They were both only on the field for I think Sawyer played 15 snaps, Aquale played 12. So I can't ding them for too long. What say you about my 1 Skulls?
Yeah, I think all these guys, I probably would have been a little nicer to Patrick Queen. I thought he had a couple impactful plays for me.
He did.
The big pressure on Fields
on
late.
third down.
Yeah. that maybe would have got him to at least neutral for me. I think very fair with Hayward, the penalty. I asked him about it because I thought it was kind of an iffy call because they called it a late hit, but the ball was still bouncing. Like, that's still a live ball. But then
I thought it was that he got him from behind.
Well, that's what he said. They just announced it wrong, that it was because he was blocking away from his own end zone. And that's what the penalty was. So that makes sense. I talked to him right before they're about to go watch the tape. He says, "Yeah, I'm about to go get reamed out for
that." At least he knows.
Yeah. I might have. I'm trying to think of like an addition here. I think I guess we'll see where we go to the two skulls, because that's it's hard to know who would be here and who will be on the next list.
Absolutely. We'll go to the two skulls next. I got two players on there. Got Darius Slay and Peyton Wilson. Slay getting beat on the touchdown. And then also, just my interpretation of this, Alan, I thought the last Fields rushing touchdown was on Slay. Because if you watch okay, so we're on the same page there. If you watch the all 22, you see right as they set things up, you see Juan Thornhill like point to Slay like, hey, watch the edge. And then everyone collapses down on the run, and they're expecting Slay to stay there. But Slay, he runs with them on the run play and doesn't account for Fields. And like as soon as Fields breaks to his right, you see Patrick Queen and Juan Thornhill look, and they're like, dude, it looks like LeBron James pointing at what's his face when he passed the ball at the, I can't remember his name right now. Jace, what was that guy's name for the Cavaliers?
Years ago. No.
He was terrible. But when it was like LeBron James in the meme, he's like, just look right there. It's like, good one job. And so I give him a two skulls. That's two touchdowns really on his head. And I didn't see any redeeming plays that he really had. I think Darius Slay will be a better player all throughout the year, but I thought that it was just two crucial plays that he gave up in this one. So him there. And then my other guy, Peyton Wilson. Patrick Queen, I gave one skull because I think that he made other good plays. Peyton Wilson did have a tackle for loss, but he was the guy who I thought was out of position the most, trying to play hero ball. And he even admitted as much, I think, in the locker room on Monday. So I gave him a two skull grade there. What say about you about these two skull guys?
I agree. And now that I've seen the two skull guys, I would like to throw a skull at Caleb Johnson, fumbled to kickoff.
You know what? You're right. I missed him on special teams. That'll be an in-post thing.
And I didn't think Darnell Washington was very good in this game either. He didn't get any receiving love, and sometimes that's just the way things go. But like a lot of those plays where you're looking at the offensive line, like 80's out there, and you should feel like if you've got six guys like that across the front, that they all should be able to kind of do their thing. And they did give him some really tough assignments, but I thought he could have been better as a blocker in this game. So I would throw a couple that way to add to the one skull list personally.
Okay, that's fair enough. I have to admit, I didn't look too harshly at Darnell Washington in this game as I was looking at so many other issues. But I will take a look. We could certainly find some. We look at some all 22 specifically looking at him. So there I have it. I've added Caleb Johnson to my one skull list. We'll do so as well for the Post Gazette. But so there's my one skull. So okay, with that being said, we got three skull players. Can you name all three?
Broderick Jones,
correct.
Keeanu Benton,
correct.
And Joey Porter Jr. No,
I did not put Joey Porter Jr. on this list because I didn't feel
like Loudermilk.
That's the third. I didn't. Joey Porter Jr. didn't make the skulls list to me because when I look back, he wasn't great, but they only beat him for like one play, and it was just a quick out.
Yeah. So, it was all the run defense for me. The run defense was rough.
Now I didn't see him as much helping. There was one run defense. Well, that's a good point. No, because I forgot about one QB option where he bit on the inside, just like Darius Slay did. It just wasn't for a touchdown. So we will revise and put Joey Porter Jr. in at least the one skull department. But Isaiah
Loudermilk wasn't good. I'm certainly not saying that. I also feel like his situation is a little bit different. That guy's not a starter, never been a starter, not expected to be at the same level as these other two guys, right? I mean, you're talking about a first-round draft pick that the Steelers traded up to get, and a second-round draft pick that was really highly sought after in his third season. Like, those guys should be people that the Steelers are leaning on as, like, cornerstones of this team. Isaiah Loudermilk, he didn't have a great game. But, like, I thought he did enough that if the guys who are supposed to be stars on this team played up to their capability, he would not have sunk them all by himself.
Interesting.
I didn't think he was good. I didn't think I mean, he was not good. There's clearly. But, like, I just have a different – like, if I'm watching the line and Keeanu Benton's getting caved in and then there goes Isaiah Loudermilk too, I'm like, well, 95 is the guy who has the talent to stop that. And
right.
Like, Loudermilk's just there. And, like,
I agree with you with what you're saying there, and I hear you out on that premise. I think the biggest thing that stunk for me was that it was either or. Just run.
The whole side of the line just got
crushed.
Yeah, and the worst part about it is that they weren't even connected, and so what would happen is you'd have guys losing and occasionally even winning, but it would all be. It just opened up all these holes. And that's what made life so difficult for Queen and Wilson, is that they had to pick and be so aggressive about where they wanted to be. They didn't have the luxury of, like, biding their time and trying to wait out the running back. It was just a disaster on that side of the defensive line.
It certainly was that they got crushed. But let's talk about Broderick Jones, because he also got crushed in this game. And I have to say, initially, when I was just going off of just watching on TV, I felt like he got beat a couple times. I didn't feel like he got beat as many times as he actually did. And then when I look back, I was like, oh no, he did get beat quite a few times. Now, he did also have several plays where he stood up to Will McDonald and guys on the edge. But when you give up 4 pressures and 3 sacks, it's tough. It's tough to bounce back from that, saying it's not a 3-skull grade. I still think that the one thing, if there's a solace, if there's a silver lining to be had about Broderick Jones, is I didn't see him confused about where he should be. I just saw him getting physically pushed around, and that's not something you want either. But at least the mental side of things didn't look to be as much of a problem as it was last year.
Yeah, and it's really interesting that, like, I think 2 of those sacks and 3 of the pressures came on play action passes.
Yeah,
where it's, like, not a real pass set,
right?
And, like, not that that's an excuse. You have to be able. You have to be able to have your left tackle run play action passes. But I think for me, it does give a little context to what's happening there, where, like, there was just one thing that he was kind of really struggling with. And then I thought the rest of it, like, if you take, not that you can evaluate this way, but if you look at the non-play action pass reps from Broderick Jones in this game, you're thinking, like, well, it wasn't great, but it was fine. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
but then you go to the other side of things. It's like, there's a real clear area there that needs improvement. He's a young guy. His first start at left tackle. Right. I think there should be a lot of leaps.
And really good talent to face here too. Like Will McDonald, Quinton Williams.
Well, that's gotta sit right here, knowing that, you know, the Jets really wanted him. The Steelers traded up to get him to pull him out of the Jets' grasp, and that's the guy they took instead. And then 3 sacks. That's pretty brutal. So I mean, I hope that Broderick can find the. You know, I think he's a motivated guy. I think people don't see that in him. I didn't think there was any effort issues here. Like you said, I thought he had the plays down. Yeah. And that's been a problem in the past. He wasn't undisciplined. He didn't take a penalty. Maybe he should have taken a penalty once or twice. Yeah. But I think like this is not a good game. Like, I think you can see it enough there that, like, I don't think this is some, like, again, like we were talking about the run defense earlier. I don't think the Steelers should be tackle shopping today necessarily.
No, there's a lot of people saying they should be.
And I think there's enough to work with here that you can narrow down the areas where there were mistakes made and try to build up. Like, look, maybe the Steelers just got to chill on the play action for a minute, even though it was really effective when Aaron Rodgers remained upright. 7 quarterback hits over the course of a game is not sustainable for a 41-year-old. He's not going to get through the season. Find another way for a game or two until you can see if Broderick's able to improve.
I'm right with you there. I think that's certainly what you look at here if you're the Steelers and you say, hey, you have a long ways to go and improve, but he has time to improve. Granted, this needs to be the year that he does improve. Like, he's running out of time to do that. And I do think that there's going to be a lot of there, but I'm right on the same page with you in the sense that if the Steelers are, if you look at what the Steelers have been and what they and what they want to be with the offensive line, you got to give Broderick Jones time to develop. If you abandon, if you're out there trying to say bench him now, get rid of him now, you're not giving yourself a real chance. You knew how raw he was coming out of college. I think that that's something that will get taken into account there. But agreeing entirely with you, whereas this was a rough game for Broderick Jones. No, not a rough game. This is a bad game for Broderick Jones. But I personally do feel like this is something that you have to let him grow from. Now, you need a game plan around this. When you face Myles Garrett later in the season, if he hasn't improved, there better be some Darnell Washington helping him and some more Jalen Warren help on his side. And maybe Isaac Seumalo looks to the left a little bit more instead of to the right. But again, I'm with you. You don't sell the farm and say, hey, just pack it up, get rid of the guy because in one start at left tackle, he had a bad showing there.
Yep, 100%. I mean, I think there's still a lot of reasons to feel good about Broderick Jones as the Steelers' long-term left tackle. Not a great first step, but I think there's a lot to work with there still, for sure.
Absolutely. Alan, thank you so much for joining me here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Let people can find you, follow you, get more of your work.
Saunders_PGH on social media, SteelersNow.com is where you can find my written work and my podcast, Steelers Morning Rush and Steelers Afternoon Drive, or on the Steelers Now YouTube page and anywhere you find podcasts.
Absolutely. He's Alan Saunders. Alan, thanks so much for joining us here. Thank you all for joining us here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, wherever you get social media handles. It's at Carter Critiques everywhere you go. You can find me on the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, post-gazette.com. Read not only my full stars and skull grades if you want to read out all of what my grades were. You can also check out my update and where I see the quarterback draft class and how they performed over the weekend. All that available at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. And as always, you can find us here on the Locked On Steelers podcast every day, Monday through Friday on your favorite podcasting apps and on YouTube. Like this video if you enjoyed. Subscribe to this channel to get all of your daily Monday through Friday episodes back here tomorrow after Tomlin's press conference here on the Locked On Steelers podcast.